Tonight, for our story, Eliza has picked the tale of Squirrel Nutkin. Ready, boys? This is a tale about a tale that belonged to a little red squirrel, and his name was Nutkin. He had a brother called Twinkleberry, and a great many cousins. They lived in a wood at the edge of a lake. In the middle of the lake there is an island covered with trees and nut bushes. Amongst those trees stands a hollow oak tree, which is the house of an owl who is called Old Brown. One autumn, when the nuts were ripe...
It's like Peter Rabbit, but just about Peter Rabbit.
It's just about different people to Peter Rabbit, isn't it? Yeah, it's written by the same person. One autumn, when the nuts were ripe and the leaves on the hazel bushes were golden and green, Nutkin and Twinkleberry and all the other little squirrels came out of the wood and down to the edge of the lake. They made little rafts out of twigs, and they paddled away over the water to Owl Island to gather nuts. Each squirrel had a little sack and a large oar and spread out its tail for a sail. They also took with them an offering of 3 fat mice as a present for Brown Owl and put them down on his doorstep. Then Twinkleberry and the other little squirrels each made a low bow and said politely, "Old Mr. Brown, if you favour us with your permission to gather nuts on your island." But Nutkin was excessively impertinent with his manners, a bit like you. He's Old Brown, the owl, old Mr. Brown. He bobbed up and down like a little red cherry, singing, riddle me, root to root." A little wee man in a red coat, a staff in his hand and a stone in his throat, and if you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a groat.
Daddy, was that
this
me?
riddle is as old as the hills. Mr. Brown paid no attention whatsoever to Nutkin. He shut his eyes absently and went to sleep.
Hi, look at me.
Yeah, look at that big sad lip. Why are you sad? You're being silly. I can't see if you do that. Get off. The squirrels filled their little sacks with nuts and sailed away home in the evening. But the next morning they all came back again to Owl Island, and Twinkleberry and the others brought a fine fat mole and laid it at the stone of old Mr. Brown's doorway.
Where's the mole?
They're carrying it there, aren't they, to lay it at Mr. Brown's doorway. And said, "Mr. Brown, will you favour us with your gracious permission to gather some more nuts?" But Nutkin, who had no respect, began to dance up and down, tickling old Mr. Brown with a nettle and singing, "Old Mr. B, riddle wee wee, hitty pitty within the wall, a hitty pitty without the wall, and if you touch hitty pitty will bite you." Bit, Natty. You're as bad as Nutkin. Mr. Brown woke up and suddenly he carried his mole in the house. He shut the door in Nutkin's face. Presently, little thread of blue smoke and wood fire came up from the top of the tree, and Nutkin peeped through the keyhole and sang, "A house full, a hole full, and you cannot gather a bowl full." What's that with this squirrel? What's he on about? The squirrels searched for nuts all over the island and filled their little sacks, but Nutkin gathered oak apples, yellow and scarlet, and sat upon a beech stump. What are you trying to do, eh? You're off on an adventure. Go on, buddy, get up on those knees. He's trying to crawl, isn't he? He's having a good go.
Why?
Because he wants to try and get around better, doesn't he?
He's going.
Oh, he's getting cross. Yeah, he's trying, isn't he? But Nutkin gathered oak apples, yellow and scarlet, and sat upon a beech stump playing marbles and watching the door of old Mr. Brown. On the third day, the squirrels got up very early and went fishing. They caught 7 fat minnows as a present for old
Where
Brown.
are the minnows?
There.
Huh?
There and there. They paddled over the lake and landed under a crooked chestnut tree on Owl Island. Twinkleberry and the 6 other little squirrels each carried a fat minnow, but Nutkin, who had no nice manners, like you, brought no present at all. He ran in front singing, "The man in the wilderness said to me, 'How many strawberries grow in the sea?' I answered him as I thought was good, as many red herrings as grow in the wood." But old Mr. Brown took no interest in riddles, not even when the answer was provided for him. On the 4th day, the squirrels brought a present of 6 fat beetles, which were as good as plums in the plum pudding for old Mr. Brown. Each beetle, here, was wrapped carefully in a dock leaf. See, they're all wrapped up. Fastened, because they're wrapped up in leaves. Fastened with a pine needle pin. But Nutkin sang as rudely as ever. Oh, Mr. B, riddle me bee. Flower of England, fruit of Spain, met together in a shower of rain. Put it in a tin, put it in a bag tied round with a string. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a ring. Which was ridiculous of Nutkin, because he had not got any ring to give old Mr. Brown. The old squirrels hunted up and down the nut bushes, but Nutkin gathered robins' pincushions off the briar bush and stuck them in a pine needle pin, full of pine needle pins. Exceptional, buddy. Absolutely exceptional. You push that button and the Christmas tree just falls down. Brilliant.
I did. Falls down.
On the 5th day, the squirrels brought a present of wild honey. It was so sweet and sticky that they licked their fingers as they put it down upon the stone. They had stolen it out of the bumblebee's nest. There, I guess.
Where's honey?
There. They stole it out of the bumblebee's nest and tipped it up the hill. But Nutkin skipped up and down, singing, hum-a-bum, buzz, buzz, hum-a-bum, buzz. As I went over Tipple-Tyne, I met a flock of bonny swine, some yellow-necked, some yellow-backed. They were the very bonniest swine that ever went over Tipple-Tyne. Old Mr. Bunny turned up his eyes in disgust at the impertinence of Nutkin. I know the feeling. But he ate up the honey. The squirrels filled their little sacks with nuts, but Nutkin sat upon a big flat rock and played the pinekins with crabapple and green fir cones. On the 6th day, which was Saturday, the squirrels came again for the last time. They brought a new laid egg in a little rust basket as a last parting present for old Mr. Brown. There's the egg. But Nutkin ran in front laughing and shouting, Humpty Dumpty lies in the beck with a white counterpiece round his neck. 40 doctors and 40 weights cannot put Humpty Dumpty to rights. Now old Mr. Brown took an interest in eggs. He opened one eye and shut it again, but he still did not speak. Nutkin became more and more impertinent. Old Mr. B, hickamore, hackamore on the king's hitchin door. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't drive a hackamore off the kitchen's door. Nutkin danced up and down like a sunbeam, but still old Mr. Brown said nothing at all. Nutkin began again. Arthur O'Bower has broken his band. He comes roaring up the land. The king of the Scots, with all his power, cannot turn Arthur off the bower. Nutkin made a whirring noise that sounded like the wind, and he took a running jump right at the head of Mr. Brown, Old Brown. Then, all at once, there was a flutterment and a scufflement and a loud squeak. The other squirrels scuttered away into the bushes. When they came back very cautiously, peeping around the tree, there old Mr. Brown was sitting on the doorstep quite still, with his eyes closed, as if nothing had happened. But Mr. Nutkin was in his waistcoat pocket. This looks like the end of the story, but it isn't. Old Mr. Brown carried Nutkin into his house and held him up by the tail, intending to skin him. But Nutkin pulled so very hard that his tail broke in two, and he dashed up the staircase and escaped out of the attic window. And to this day, if you ever meet Nutkin up a tree and ask him a riddle, he will throw sticks at you, stamp his feet, and scold and shout, cut, 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 for some reason. He got what he deserved. What a brat. Right. Say goodnight to each other, boys.
Good night.
Good choice, Elijah.